Part 155. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1556. The soft person on his back breathed gradually and smoothly. Goza's slow pace has slowed down even more. But even so slowly, he still unknowingly reached the wall. He pressed the fingerprint password, and the iron door that Yanj and Zioa couldn't break opened silently. He entered the iron gate and stepped up the steps. Fear of waking people up. He is slow and slow. Every step just wants to fall steadily. To the wall. He didn't jump right away. The walls are extremely high. The weather today is very good in the last days. Strands of sunlight reveal gray clouds, and even the gloomy gray sky seems to be a radiant presence. Goza carefully poured the person on his back into his arms and hugged her and sat on the edge of the city wall. The teammates at his feet whistled and winked at him, but he didn't even notice it, squinting slightly, facing the place where the sun was thrown. Before the night came, Yan Song was finally sober. She rubbed her eyes and glanced casually, finding that her body was almost suspended, as high as 3 or 4 floors above the ground. She was so excited that she let out a cold sweat. Her sleeplessness disappeared. "You're awake." Goza's calm eyebrows. Only after speaking the song did she realize that she was in Goza's arms, and this guy, sitting at the edge of the city wall, learned the actions of the previous baby son. She clasped the man's neck with both hands. "Don't you say you can fly?" Goza didn't say anything, just holding her was so jumpy. Really flew down. They all opened up and hung up, and their words were ashamed. After she got in the car, the driver in the driving position was still Go-san, and Goza was in the back of the car as usual. From the moment the car started, Go-san's gossip came out like a surging river. "Yanj, what about your son? What's the situation in Xinjiang? Are there any zombies? Is there anyone? Are there any supplies? My son is asleep. In the space, I have a small space just to accommodate him. There is nothing in Xinjiang, except for zombies, no people and no supplies. All places are empty, even the zombies were also kept underground, and there was nothing on the ground." Yanj said indignantly, "No one can enter the land of death, but I think someone must have been there, otherwise it would not be so empty." Lao Dog-san sighed, and his words turned, "You and the boss, the relationship between you and yours is heating up fast, ha ha ha, are we going to have candy soon? The present wedding candy is not so easy to find. Everyone is discussing it in private. At that time, the boss will give them a crystal nucleus." Yan Song gave him a glance. The relationship between her and Goza cannot be pure. Why did it heat up? Oh, but the relationship is indeed better than before. Goza used to be a Len Yan Wang. Now it's not that cold anymore. Go Sancheo's eyebrows frowned, and he lowered his voice and said, "After you entered the city, the boss also asked the box how to make his hair grow out quickly. He even noticed his personal image. I have been to Thunder for so long." Annoyed. "Yanj, can he grow his hair?" "How can it grow out?" Go-san said. "He has a bald head that is so angry that he grows out of his hair and grows his hair again. How can we live? The women we like all like the boss, when we will fight hard with the boss." After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1557. Yan Song, poor baby, bald forever. Lighten up. Dog 3, Yanj, it's good that you and your boss are really together. The boss has a lot of money, and someone can help you raise your children. You can relax a little bit. After all, this eschatology is not good. This is true. However, Yan Ji likes this eschatology very much. The rules and restrictions in this plane are confusing. She and her son's food were everywhere in this troubled world. It's almost like a home orchard. Thinking about the days when I can absorb crystal nuclei every day, Yan Ji is very happy. Back to the Thunder base, there was still no song to recover from the depression. She drank a bowl of porridge and slept again after washing. I slept for a few days. When she woke up, it was another night. Staring at the dark room for a long time, she got up and went out, knocking on the door of Guzi. The door opened at the next moment, and even the pajamas were gray and gray. He stood inside the door, staring blankly at Yanj. Yanj rubbed his stomach. Hungry, do you have anything to eat? Guzi turned and entered the door. Although I didn't say anything, I can reach out and swipe. The coffee table is full of snacks. Seeing that Song of Song had sat down, he asked, what about the child? Doesn't he eat something? He's still sleeping. He has eaten too much and needs time to digest. Okay. Yan Song, thank you. Guzi, what? Eat these, I feel very satisfied while eating, thank you. Yan Ji squinted at him, are you still asleep in the middle of the night? How else could the door open so fast? Guzi nodded, it didn't take long for me to come back. No wonder. Has anything happened at the base recently? Right, do you need to go on a mission tomorrow? Remember to call me then. Guzi nodded. Yanj stared at his head, how do you feel that hair has grown on your head? Although a short layer, it is quite conspicuous. After all, some time ago, Guzi's head was light. Guzi. He opened his mouth and didn't speak yet. Yanj had got up and touched the top of his head, and said to himself, it's a bit piercing, it does grow a layer of hair. Are you alright? Guzi, it's alright. His voice was flat and there was no emotion when he listened. I applied the ointment when I was shaving my hair some time ago, so it will be so clean. Now that the effect is over, it will naturally grow out. Yanj, don't you say that this medicine is going to take a year, I just slept for a while. Presumably this medicine developed by the box is not reliable. Words, then your hair. Guzi interrupted her, it's hair, not hair. Yanj, oh, do you really want to grow your hair? I heard people say that your hair will never grow again. Guzi stared at her, who did you hear? Yanj can't always give out the dog 3. After all, the dog 3 saw Guzi, which is almost the same as the mouse and the cat. Oh, I forgot who said it. Guzi, really? His ending sounded like a howling string reverb, and it was invisibly shocking. Yanj noticed that he was not in the right mood and sat down to eat. Don't turn your face without eating. Guzi stared at Yan Ji, his mood changed, and when Yan Ji looked up at him again, he was at peace. Yanj, you are full, do you eat? Guzi shook his head. Yan Ji got up and stretched slightly, let's go back to sleep while it's not dawn. Just sleep here. What? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1558. Does this guy want to ask her to exchange food for sleep? Yanj turned to stare at him. Guzi met her gaze, never flickering or hiding, and continued calmly, my hair has grown. Ah, just a little hair grows, can it be grown? Mainly, it has something to do with her. Guzi, it's not bald anymore. In the end, the voice was dumb, and there was a mix of grievances in the dumb voice. Yan Song thought he heard it wrong. However, it is not bald, it is indeed something to be praised. She didn't seem to congratulate him yet. Yanj, congratulations, you finally have your hair back. Guzi saw that she was going to flash people again, stepped forward and clasped her wrists, and nibbled the person in front of the wall. You said you wouldn't sleep with a bald head. I'm not bald now. Yan Ji understood that the man was still inviting her to sleep. and the language model was still inexplicable. She stared at him, and after a while, she curiously asked, "Are you so shy?" Goza felt his face slump and caught fire instantly. He could calmly meet her, but now she said that he had no courage to face her. I was about to step back and pull the distance between the two. She hooked him around his neck and kissed him. The so-called sleep. In fact, it is very simple to sleep. Although Gozi has grown hair, it is too short. Yanj couldn't get down. Moreover, she found Goza's desires were limited, and as long as she kissed her, she was satisfied. He didn't take any further action, and Yanj naturally wouldn't take the initiative. So at night, it was really just a nap. It's so simple. Yanj is held in his arms by such a masculine man. Yanj is really a bit uncomfortable. Although human instincts are less able to affect her. But at this moment, she really wanted to sleep madly. Anyway, hold back. The hair is too short, and it will suffocate when you touch it. I can't brew more passion. All night, Goza felt that the woman seemed to like his short stubble all the time, and her sleep was touching, she couldn't help it. The door knocked in the morning. Banging, banging for a long time. Yan Song rolled over in dissatisfaction and pushed Goza, "Open the door." With eyes open for a long time, Gozavinian, who had been holding the Yanj posture, stood up and opened the door calmly. "Boss, aren't you going to Liaodong today? Everyone is waiting for you." What knocked at the door was originally intended to call the boss's sleeping beauty next door. As soon as the boss opened the door, he noticed that his face was very bad. It's like being squeezed out of kidney all night. He was very thirsty for survival and noticed that his voice immediately complimented a lot. Gozi has not responded yet, and the people in the room asked curiously, "Going to Liaodong today? What are you going to do?" "I am going to." It's the voice of a song. He's in the boss's room. How surprised to stare at his boss. These people are still betting on when the boss can coax the beauty. The boss is good, silent, and has coaxed the beauty into bed. Why didn't you see the beauties in the room? Because the door was shut in a moment. He touched the nose that was almost hid by the door, and listened for a while next to the door. He heard nothing, and had to leave in silence. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1559. Of course, such a big melon, not to go downstairs to show off, is simply not the style. Goza closed the door, hugged the coming song and kissed her forehead. "Are you going?" Yan Ji nodded, "I will go if there are zombies." Yes. Goza paused, and said, "It may be similar to the situation in Xinjiang, and there may be more zombies." Yan Ji brightened his eyes instantly, "That must go. There is a B station base in Liaodong. I heard that we have studied how to plant green plants, and we will drop in at B station. Now this depleted earth without any living things can no longer provide any nourishment to human beings. If you can't think of new energy and new living methods, and when those remaining materials are exhausted, humanity will really die. Yan Ji is not interested in Station B. When you go to Station B, I go to find the zombies." Yan Ji's ability to mutate, the less people know, the better, so it is best for her to act alone and not be noticeable. Goza nodded, "Okay." There was a lot of food and water in the storage ring he gave to Yanj. "Don't worry that she will starve herself, be careful then. At the end, add, if you see Go Huo, ignore him." Yanj heard a laugh and said, "I see." When the two went downstairs, they were naturally teased by the Thunder members. However, from the beginning to the end, Goza kept his face cold and everyone did not dare to be too fierce. However, the words were keenly noticed, Goza's ears were red, and this guy was obviously shy. The Thunder team has joined new members in the past few days. Ling Yanj unexpectedly said that this person is still an old one, Ruan Cheng. He Killen introduced Ruan Cheng's shoulder to Yan Ji, This is the new little beauty Ruanqing. I have always wanted to see you, the beauty senior. It is not easy for you two to meet today. Yan Ji looked at Ruanqing with a grin, and it was not easy. She raised her chin toward Ruanqing. What power? Ruanqing hasn't answered yet, and he Kikai said, the fire ability is very powerful. The ability just appeared a few days ago, but the energy is very powerful. Ruanqing Chao sang with a smile. She was very beautiful, she looked gentle and gentle, she was a rare beauty in the entire Thunder base, and she was a powerful fire ability. No wonder she could join the Thunder squad. Yanj raised an eyebrow. Why, but if you don't see me for a few days, you won't recognize me as an older sister. Ruanqing immediately called, sister. After she called, she reached out and chanted, sister, I thought I would never see you again. I can't believe you are standing in front of me. She hadn't held Yanj yet, and one hand blocked her. It was Guzi. He stood between Yanj and Ruanqing and turned around to ask Yanj, do you know her? Song of Yan, she had no power before, I took her in. She squinted Ruanqing, but before he died, he said he was going to take me to the sisters to reunite. The degree is the most colorful one in the Thunder squad. The words are only a short sentence, but everyone immediately understands the meaning of the words. Ruanqing said busily, I encountered zombie. It was Brother Cheng who saved me. I was worried about my sister, so I asked him to pick up my sister to the Thunder base. But then someone heard that Brother Cheng was dead. I thought you were out. An accident. In the end, he was choked. Yanj stretched out her hand and patted her shoulder, where can I have an accident? Don't worry, even if you die, I will never have anything. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1560. This comforting word sounds weird. Although the sisters are happy together. However, the crowd did not feel the joyful atmosphere between the two sisters at all, but felt a strange indescribable feeling. They took a step back, what should they do, and decided not to join the fun. Yanj skipped Ruanqing and walked towards the dog-driven car. She is used to riding in a dog 3's car. Ruanqing looked at Yanj and got on the car, so he went to the car with the car behind him. He asked her in a low voice, are you not very good with your sister? Ruanqing shook her head, my sister was particularly good to me before. She may have misunderstood me. When this task returns, I will tell her clearly. He breathed a sigh of relief and pressed Ruanqing in his arms to calm him, well, it's best to say clearly. The Thunder team had to go to the B station base first, and Guzi put down his motorcycle and ordered everyone to go first. He took another song and went to the B city. Ruanqing looked at the disappearance of the two, holding his hand and asked softly, where did the elder sister and the boss go? Could it be dangerous? Everyone looked at the direction they were leaving, guessed a little, but felt unbelievable. In their eyes, Yanj is not so strange as a teammate. They still can't provoke this existence. He stared at Yanji's back until people disappeared, and then said to Ruanqing, your sister's wood-based abilities are very powerful. The kind of place of death in Xingqiang can come and go freely, but now, he has taken the initiative to go to another place of death. Variation of power, Ruanqing was surprised, then shook his head, no, my sister's wood power can only plant flowers and plants. She looked surprised at Shang He, adding, my sister's ability has never been lethal, and her sister's temperament is the most gentle. She is gentle to others. At this point, the members of the Thunder really did not believe it. Why couldn't help asking, are you sure you are talking about songs? The woman is cruel and hot, where can she touch it with tenderness? Ruanqing nodded, but, before, my sister said that her surname was hate, not a word. Her sister is really good, and I would have died without her. The issue of surnames doesn't matter much. In this world, everyone's names are always changing. Oh, he held Ruanqing's hand in his palm, but his thoughts drifted away. Guza sent Yanj out of the so-called dead land B, watching Yanj wave his hand at him, and left without looking back. He was still riding on a motorcycle. The next moment he got out of the car and caught up with her, pulled her into his arms, and lowered his head and kissed her lips. This guy, the sudden saucy operation made Yanj a bit aggressive. Yanj waited for him to finish, and then turned away and looked up at him. Anything else? Guza's throat moved, he stared at her rosy lips, and said dumbly, "Don't talk to him anymore, run as soon as you see him, and run as fast as possible. It's self-evident who he refers to." Yan Song laughed lightly. "I always feel that Guza's inexplicable hostility to Go Huo and his hostility to the gangbang are very funny." She lifted her head and looked at him with a smile. "Why? He's not the devil who would eat me." Guza reached out and rubbed Yanj's head helplessly. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 1561. Guza couldn't say the weird feeling in his heart. I can only tell her over and over again, don't talk to him, run when you see, run as far as possible. Yanj grabbed his hand and threw it away. I know, you hurry away, everyone may be waiting for you." She strode forward, raised her hands, and waved back at him without looking back. Guza didn't leave so soon, he kept watching her enter the city called the Place of Death, and the petite figure disappeared into the buildings. Obviously she was going to conquer the city, but it was strange, but he had a kind of illusion that the city swallowed her like a beast. This B city, also known as the City of Death, has no high walls. But the city's periphery has infrared security systems. All infrared security systems are activated normally. That is, some people with special abilities can enter this place. But those who entered never got out. Compared with the mystery of Qing Cheng, the ferociousness of the city is more profound. After all, the infrared, which is invisible to the naked eye, is ubiquitous. Words of Song is the existence of a special power. The rules of heaven in this plane are about to collapse because of the turbulence of the last days. Yan Ji devoured so many crystal nuclei in Qing Cheng, and her body was advanced in the past few days of sleep, even her body was advanced. Now this body has communicated with her body. So the infrared in City B is really a trivial matter to her. In this plane, the crystal nuclei that are absorbed are all food that can make her strong. So Yan Ji looked at this place of death, just like watching a plate of food. She easily broke through the infrared perimeter and entered the city. City B is a relatively prosperous city, full of high-rise buildings where you can barely see. However, this place is like Qing Cheng, the streets are clean and the houses on both sides of the street are closed. It's like a city still asleep, not corroded by the rain and sand of the last days, nor destroyed by people or zombies. When this idea came out, Yan Ji finally remembered why it was so weird to look at the neat and clean streets of Qing Cheng. Even if no one and zombies are violently destroyed, there will still be acid rain and sandstorms in the last days. It is impossible for these rain and wind and sand to give birth to the wisdom to bypass these so-called cities of death. So, how do these cities stay as clean and tidy as ever? Because I have doubts. Yanj is more meticulous this time, and has been in the city for a long time. Probably smelled. The baby sun came out of the system and immediately turned into a big broom and smashed it towards the ground. Same as Qing Cheng. The zombies are all underground. Dense like a layer of ants. Endless. This is not always a coincidence. Yan Ji depressed his heart's surprise, and joined the battle with the baby sun. This time there are many more zombies in City B than in Qing Cheng. Both Yanj and his son swept through the army, but even so, it took 2 people, 1 child, 2 days and 2 nights to get all these zombies. Instead of leaving the ground, she took her baby son forward. Different from the ground. Under the ground was a dark void. Walked for a long time, and didn't come to an end. In the darkness, only the echoes of her and her son's footsteps were around. This feeling of having only one person in the world is really not good. Fortunately, she has a baby son beside her. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1562. The baby son was actually tired, but probably connected with Yanj's heart. Knowing that Yanj's state of mind at this moment did not return to the system, but held his thigh and climbed into Yanj's arms. The little guy is very normal. Eating so many crystal nuclei not only did not gain weight, but also lightened a lot. It is about the same weight as a normal child, which makes Yanji relieved. Finally don't need to hold a Tarzan. She had thought of her son's head, but for a moment, they had given up the plan before both had taken a bath. Darkness is boundless. Yanj gradually became impatient and asked his son softly, "Is it tired? Or go back?" Baby son did not respond. Yanji knew, however, that this guy was in her arms and was asleep. Little guy, too tired. Yan Song did not continue. The branches around her grew wild, poked a piece of land above her head, and rushed out holding her baby son. Unlike the ground floor, it is noon outside. Although the sky is filled with gray clouds, the sun is faintly visible. Suddenly, Yanj didn't really adapt to the light outside, so he subconsciously covered the little guy's eyes. There was a person standing in front of me. It's just about 3 meters away, not too close. Don't be scared or ignored. Go Huo. Yanj looked at him. This time, the guy was wearing a beige casual suit. In the last days, few people will wear clothes of this color. Go Huo's dress is very dazzling, but the most dazzling should be his features. The dusty temperament is indifferent, at least in this end time, no one will look like him. Everyone is struggling every day, life is flooded with killings, and the Buddha is something, that's hell. Yanj approached and asked him, "Can't you really speak?" Go Huo nodded with a smile. "Yanj, your real name is Go Huo." Go Huo continued to nod. As Yanj approached, Gao Ji's dust between his eyebrows was gradually replaced by a soft, warm smile. His eyes softly looked at Yanji, and finally, his eyes fixed on the son of Yanji in his arms. Go Huo knows the origin of the original owner. Yanj's own rhetoric can be used in Thunder Base, but it is full of loopholes when used in Go Huo. So she did not intend to introduce her son to Go Huo. Ignoring Go Huo's eyes, she asked with curiosity, "What is the hatred between you and the dog? Why do you want me to live?" Go Huo could not answer. He opened his hands towards his baby son. The meaning is very clear, want to hug the baby son. Yan Song hesitated for a moment. However, did not avoid, she put the sleeping baby son into Go Huo's arms. It's strange that he is very strange to this man, and everything about him comes from the memory of the host. Obviously, she didn't really want him to hug her baby son. But the moment he reached out, she sent the baby son out. Go Huo held the baby son in both hands and lowered his head, always looking at the sleeping baby son. Yanji inexplicably felt that he was very skilled in holding his baby son. It was as if he had held many children. She didn't speak again. I always feel that I should not speak at this time. After a long time, Go Huo passed the baby son back to Yanj. After Yanj held the baby son back in his arms, he reached out and rubbed Yanj's head, smiled at Yanj, and turned away. He walked slowly, but it seemed to be fast. Yanji only stared at it for a moment, and felt that he seemed to be far away from himself. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1563. One on the street and one at the end of the street. Around the corner, Gohu stopped and did not continue to move forward, but turned and stood still, looking at her distantly. When Yanj took a few steps and looked back, he was still standing there, watching her go. This is really a weird. Yanji hugged her baby son and walked quickly outside the city. As soon as I was out of town, I saw a dog standing next to a motorcycle. Yanj asked him, "Just arrived?" Maybe I was afraid that Yanj was tired of holding her baby son. After all, the little guy was too heavy. But to his surprise, the sleeping baby son was very lightweight, maybe as light as a normal child, and it wasn't the iron symbol in the impression at all. He stared at the sleeping baby son and turned into a shower-like raindrop out of thin air to facilitate the washing of words. "I came yesterday, but I can't get in," Goza said. "How is it inside? Is it the same as Ching Cheng?" "Same," Yanj said. "Zombies are all underground and the ground is clean and tidy. There are several times more zombies here than Ching Cheng, probably because of the city's size." She paused and said, "It's weird. The ground is very large. I took my baby son for a long time and didn't go to the end. Although it was dark all around, I could feel that it was empty in all directions, and it didn't end." Goza looked up and glanced at Yanji, but immediately he lowered his head, his ears were red, and his eyes fell on his son's body. "There are so many zombies underneath, it must be very big." As the words sing carefully, try to use words to describe the weird feeling in my heart. It is not easy to drive so many zombies underground, and it is not easy to dig out such a large space in such a large underground space. This kind of thing is definitely not day and night. And the rain in the last days has corroded so badly. Why the buildings in the city have not been corroded and kept so clean and tidy. A blue city is very strange. This B city is the same as the blue city. Obviously this is not an accident." She finished flushing, shook the water beads on her body, and Gozi hugged her baby boy and took a step back. He did not answer these words, but said, "Get in the car first, go back and talk about it in detail." Yanji put his son into the system, and sat behind Gozi and clasped his waist tightly. "I always feel that someone is going to make a big move. I may be confused and destroy that person's big move. Hey, I myself, it doesn't matter, I'm afraid people in the dark will focus on the thunder base." Goza squeezed her hand. "No. Don't worry, I'm here," he said. Yanji is funny. In fact, she feels that she should be stronger than Goza. Goza's appeasement was nothing to her. The road is long, and before returning to the base, Yanji has fallen asleep. Sleepy and lacking, as soon as his tight body slackened, he wanted to take a good rest. Gozishan was afraid that she would fall, and hugged her in front of her so that she would ride against him and sleep in his arms. He found a large hide in the space and wrapped her tightly in his arms. The motorcycle was not fast. He rode his wife for the first time and felt like a homemaker. Sure enough, there is still a big difference between a fake wife and a real wife. The dark sleep of Yanj is sweet. Unlike before, when I woke up, I heard a soft sound of before opening my eyes. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1564. Hearing this sound was like the dry ground was poured into the clear spring, and the entire song was instantly soft and messy. It's nice to have a son. She reached out to catch people along this voice. But it was not the baby son that was caught, but the man. Take a look. The baby son crawled around the dog, and the dog didn't know where to find a fake doll. The baby son dragged the doll's yellow hair, but his fat hand poked at the dog's nose. Hey, hey. Well, this uncle is not calling her. And she has woke up for so long, her baby son hasn't rushed to hug her. Is he still a son? My son is too young to notice that she wakes up normally. What about the man who robbed his son? Still showing off? Yanj could not bear it, and put a slap in his face. As he was about to learn a few words, the son raised his hands in her arms and threw her who had just sat up on the bed again. He kissed her on her face and kissed a bunch of saliva. Yanj rubbed his fluffy little head of melon seeds, and finally rubbed his fleshy little egg. I'm your puppet, I can only call me puppet, no one else is you. When saying this, Yanji looked at Guza with an eyebrow demonstration. Guza looked at her, her lips slightly raised, her eyes bright and bright, as if smiling. Yanji rolled his eyes at him, and continued to educate his own baby son. Hey, I can't shout at anyone, I am the only one, you're only one. The baby son giggled and stepped on her chest to jump twice. Words of song. Fortunately, there is no chest, otherwise it will be stepped down. The baby's son probably thought it was fun, giggled after 2 jumps, and continued to laugh, and then stepped on. Guzi hurriedly hugged him. Don't break your mother's chest. Yanji rolled his eyes again. Where can I step on it so easily? I'm not foolish. Guza looked at Yanj's chest, and he stopped talking, and eventually did not speak. Fortunately, the baby son held him and began to poke his nostrils and ears and eyes, and he had no time to respond to the words of the song. Yanj got up and went to take a shower in the bathroom. She noticed that her dressing gown was already in the bathroom's closet, pink with peach, and yellow broken flower. What an aesthetic! Yanji expressed his expressionless expression and took out the light gray of the dog. Guza saw that she came out in her own bathrobe, and there was a hint of in her eyes, but she was immediately covered by him. Hungry? What do you want to eat? Yanj, is it time for dinner? I want some porridge, light. After meals, Guza took out a bunch of toys and gave it to his baby son, got up and said, I'll make it for you. Yanj was surprised. Can you cook in this room? Electricity is a scarce product. Even the open flames used for cooking in the kitchen, Guza wastes electricity to cook. In fact, Yanji's brain hole is still a bit small. Guza did not use electricity, he used open flames. Oh, it's still a fire brewing by myself. Holding the rice cooker in the air, he controlled the fire at the bottom of the pot. Words of song. This is energy consuming, right? However, she did not stop. After playing with her baby son for a while, she sat next to the dog and stared at the open pot with both hands. The rice has fallen into the pot. The pot was gurgling, water vapor came out of the hole in the lid, but it was evaporated without any trace immediately. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1565. Yanji looked at Guza's focused face, and suddenly realized that this man was so handsome now. Shui stayed cool. Probably what he is now. The dog suddenly bowed his head. Although his hand was not empty, he bowed his head and kissed him. What do you want? Yanj raised his hand and touched the top of his head. Your hair seems to be curly. A thick layer of black hair covered the top of his head with a curling suit. The cute curly hair softens his cold features instantly. He prefers his bald hair to the hair that he always wants to curl. Yanji frowned slightly, worrying, your curly hair looks a little like my baby boy's curly hair. The baby son is her. She didn't want the family of 3 to go outside. When they saw her son, they said, yeah, your son really looks like his father. Guza, what? Yanji sighed, what if someone misunderstands that your son is your baby? Guza, misunderstanding is misunderstanding. I don't mind. My mother-in-law's mind. Yanji gave him a bulging glance, my son is my son, and has nothing to do with you. Guza smiled and said, Have you ever thought of giving him a name? Words of song. I never thought of naming her son. She thought seriously, you can call a name that someone can shout. Otherwise, in case anyone else learns to call her baby son. But what's the nickname? Yanj thought, is the small tree nice? Or is it small green? What about the small leaves? The big tree seems to be nice too. Guza. Are you sure it sounds good? He squinted and became obsessed with the improbable words of his name, and decided not to comment. After drinking the hot porridge, Yan Ji's name finally came to mind, Xian Wu, let's call it Xian Wu. At the time, it was still a chicken that played a basil pot for the little guy. Domineering name. Guza whispered, Suan Wu in ancient times meant a turtle. Words of song. She changed her mouth, let's call it Xiashu. Intuitive and atmospheric. Guza, there are no more trees in this world. It's still not good to be called a small tree. Change another one. Words of song. He looked at Yan Song's poor face and continued to propose, is Chang'an good? He is the only child in Thunder Base. Everyone is looking forward to his peaceful growth. Do you think it is good to call him Chang'an? Yan Ji is already on the verge of irritability because of her name. Her own name has just been rejected by Guza. Naturally, she does not want to go along so easily. I do want to say, not good. What is the use of Chang'an? Some people have a lifetime if it's peaceful, if it's not happy, it's blind, and it's better to die alive. That makes sense. Guza, so joy. Yan Ji rolled his eyes at him, I always feel like you're calling a dog. Fake dog. In the end, the baby's son's name could not be said. This matter is not urgent, think slowly. Yanj was full of food and drink. Guzi had put on her new son's green clothes and put her on his neck. Her son inherited her vision and also particularly liked green. Probably the clothes on the baby's son were too green and there was a sense of presence. After Guzi put him around his neck, the moment Yan Ji turned his head to see it, he was mistaken for a large piece of green on Guzi's head. Seeing the words staring at him, the entangled eyes, Guzi was moved by her staring hard, walked over, and bowed her head and said, everything is going to get married, let's get married.